beautiful August afternoon. I maybe have 15 what I would call like old growth pines left to cut down. I could be more. I don't think it's less. This is one of them. It's been holding on tight to the side of this hill, and I'm sick of seeing it. So it's gonna go over the hill, kind of down. I expect that it'll break, the trunk will break into a number of pieces, which should be just fine. I'm going to put in a relief cut here in the front, and then I'm just going to put in a relief cut, and then I'm going to move the excavator in place and I'm going to use the bucket to push forward, and then I'll start putting in the felling cut in the back here, and the excavator should keep it going exactly where we want. Yeah, let's do it. I want to actually leave the stump in this one so that roots kind of stay in the ground over here. I don't know. I'm sure they won't provide all that much sort of erosion resistance or cohesiveness. Is there a cohesivity? Yeah, that's definitely not a word. I think it'll hold the soil together a little bit more. Oh man, the bark on this bad boy is like 2 inches thick. Yeah, pretty big. Pretty big. It's like filled my whole boot up with sawdust. Okay, I gotta get this sawdust out of my boot before it makes my legs all itchy. All right, hop in this excavator, move it over, get it in position. I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure on the trunk. Don't drop it down, cut out. Alright, let's do a little bit of forward action and timber. Easy as that. All right. Okay, what a sloppy mess this tree is going to be. So many big branches. And it's also up. The base of the trunk is still resting a little high up on this hillside. So I'm going to go down with the excavator and start trying to get these branches off. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Okay. Oh man, so funny. You can look at a tree for months and months and months. and the minute's gone. Rather than being like, oh, where did that tree go? You're just like, oh, cool. No tree there. Bum, bum. Trying to be real careful not to get any of these hydraulic hoses stuck on these branches. Wow. That's a strong branch. Oh my god. The amount of pine needles over here is nuts. Holy crap, I can't listen to any more of this stuff about Lindsay Clancy. It is entirely too miserable to hear about this anymore. Oh, please let me listen to anything but that. Oh. Oh, anything but that. You seem like you're pretty much done with this project. Huh? What? It's funny, the amount of like terrible news that I would rather hear than about a mother who murdered her 3 children is just nuts. I would rather hear almost any other bad news. So many branches. How on earth? I wonder if I can. Honk honk. Oh, I wish I could get up to the top of this pad a different way, but we have guests right now. Otherwise, I probably would, so I could just try pulling this bad boy up. But instead, I'm going to need to so I'm going to try to just maybe put these branches right here for now.
It's so funny. I went like 6 days without accidentally honking this horn, and I've done it quite a few minutes. Or quite a few times in the last few minutes. Like a small tree worth of wood just in these branches. Alright, let's... see if I can kind of scoop this stuff up with me. Whoa. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Oh. as soon as I get this cleaned up, I'm gonna read a little email from the county. Because they were not happy with me, but I had some time this week and last week to do more tree removal stuff. Yeah, so before I got the excavator delivered last week, I emailed the county here on a thread about getting all of the necessary permits for excavation here on the property. And I was like, hey, I just want to let you guys know that I have an excavator getting delivered. I will not be doing any excavation. It's just for moving big logs around, and but I wanted to hear it from me, just in case one of my neighbors gets in touch with you about an excavator. I want you to know that I'm not doing any more excavation. I'm totally respecting your wishes, and yeah, really just like a pleasant tone on my end, and completely, just a little transparency and a little oh, this is a big guy. And rather than the county emailing back and saying something like, okay, cool, thank you for letting us know, please don't do anything you're not supposed to do, and we may have to come out and check it out, the email he sent was just like wildly hostile. Not wildly. Unnecessarily hostile. And accusatory, beyond the thing that they've accused me of that I've admitted to, which was creating trails on my property so I could get around. So here's my big pile for a chipper at some point when I get one. I think that this tree might be, a couple thousand pounds. It's heavy. Heavy. Okay. Yeah, so I sent that email that was just letting them go, or letting them know that, hey, I was going to have a excavator delivered. Don't worry, I'm not going to do any excavating. It's just to move around logs that I'm obviously unable to lift by myself. Obviously, they weigh thousands and thousands of pounds on the big end and hundreds of pounds on the little end. And this guy, David from the county, says, what was previously presented to the county as beetle kill removal exceeded that scope of work significantly. Access drives and a building pad have been created on the property. Before any additional site work is undertaken, you will need to obtain the required site development permit. County staff may also conduct a site visit. Okay, fine. None of that, half of that's not true. But whatever. Then he says, any additional grading or excavation without the appropriate approvals may affect the status of your short-term rental license. That's fine. Then he says, as I recall, most, if not all, of the beetle kill trees had already been removed. Now, it's not his job to recall things, but there's 150 beetle kill trees left on my property standing right now. There are 40 tree trunks on a hillside that I've already cut down that are going to just sit there until I have permission to excavate little paths to them, because I'm not sure if, excavators don't do well going across slopes. They can go up a slope and down a slope pretty well. If you're trying to traverse a slope, side to side, they're really top-heavy machines, and they can just easily tip over down the hill. So, anyway, so as he recalls, most, if not all, of the beetle kills are to be removed, and he underlines a question that references a timeline that was established by the county in the same email thread just a couple days before this email exchange. And he says the county needs this information to make informed decisions regarding any necessary compliance efforts or strategies. A lack of good faith effort to address these requirements and bring the property into compliance may result in the county pursuing formal enforcement actions. Now, I've read this 6 or 7 times. Every other time it sounds, one time I'll read it and it sounds much more hostile than the next time that I read it. This is one of those times where I'm not thinking it sounds quite so hostile. But what I dislike about it particularly is having it implied pretty strongly that I am not acting in good faith, which is just so bizarre because I emailed them. You would think it would be just like such an obvious good faith move that I really don't like, I just don't understand the point of accusing me of bad faith when truly my good faith, as I told him in my reply, I really thought my good faith was evidenced by the email that I had just sent you, big guy. So, I will continue to act in good faith. I'm so glad that the county does as well, and we can just have a good faith collaboration here. It's just weird. The whole thing is weird. I think it's so easy for county officials who are employed by the county to basically collect rent from the citizens of the county, the residents of the county, and I don't mean that in a positive rent collection way, I mean rent-seeking behavior. and racketeering is, that's really what it's really what government is. It's a racket. And when a county treats its residents as their piggy bank rather than a group of people who they are meant to serve, you get into situations where incentives don't line up very well, and I guess that's the biggest deal. The whole point of government, well, I don't know about the whole point of government, the whole point of laws to a large degree are to compel behavior and to incentivize the behavior you believe is good for society, and to disincentivize the behavior that you believe is bad for society. Now, I think, given that we are currently in the midst of a really wicked beetle kill, this Rocky Mountain pine beetle infestation here, and many of those trees are on private property. Some people don't have very much land, so they're not going to have very many pine trees that are dead. As people's property gets larger in size out here, it is almost guaranteed that they have pretty large chunks of beetle kill, which are beyond being just unsightly and ugly and totally useless for the landscape. They are a huge fire risk. Pine needles, pine trees, pine sap, all of it has a bunch of, what are they, terpenes? I don't know. The pine sap is very flammable. Pine needles are very flammable, especially dry ones. So the amount of fuel for forest fires that is all over these mountains is truly dangerous. Beyond dangerous, actually. It was just stupid to leave them, especially if you can have your residents take it upon themselves to care for their own property by removing them. The county should be ecstatic with that outcome, not furious by it. And like, if I had not done this, rather than this project costing me thousands and thousands of dollars, it's already cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, because I've rented an excavator, I've spent, I don't even know how many hours on it, just personally. I've had to buy chainsaws, I've had to buy chainsaw oil, and bars, and chains, and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I rented an excavator for a couple of months. That was, 12 grand or more. But so much less than it is going to be now to legalize the trails that I have, which is going to involve surveyors and engineers and soil engineers and civil engineers, and just a whole lot of stuff. And then they might say, oh yeah, you've got to, you have to bring an excavation crew back in here to, or yourself, whatever, to clean up anything that I didn't do that was perfectly in line with the county's requirements for roads, which these are not. These are not roads for... It's a completely private trail. My children walk on these paths. I use these paths for off-road vehicles. But it's not some kind of like throughway for the public that needs to be able to be X amount of safe for a number of people. Like, this is a seasonal path. I will never use these paths when the weather is such that they'll be too slippery, because obviously, I don't want to fall down the hill. Now, I get that if it was like a access road for a home, you wouldn't be able to have such, that there's certain areas that are a little steeper than is allowed from a code perspective for, driveways. That's fine. These aren't driveways. These are for off-road vehicles. These are for heavy equipment, heavy machinery. All in the service of cleaning up my own space. So, I really very much, I really don't appreciate the tactics that the county has employed thus far to try to force compliance, especially considering that they're doing that to someone who is very much cooperating, despite my willingness to tell them that I think that they are monsters and tyrants and, quite frankly, that they're misguided in everything that they're doing. I still, at the end of that statement, finished up by saying, but, alas, here we are, and while I disagree with the climate that you are, that they're creating in the county, I am completely cooperative and will be following whatever little requirements that they have for me, and whatever they want me to do. And you want me to spend $20,000 on a fucking engineer and a surveyor and blah 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 blah. Okay, whatever, man, whatever. I'll do it, and that's what I told them. And yet they not only did they say I do it, but like they told me the time frame, and I said, okay, I don't, I'll do my very best to have it done in that time frame. I'll be in contact with you regularly so that we can, with progress updates and all that stuff, all because, I don't know. It's all very stupid, and I dislike being treated like a criminal for something that is just so patently not crime. If I recall correctly, you're already down. Huh. Okay. Weird. Because I just got a quote from an arborist. I was curious what they would charge, and it was like 25 grand. to come out and do the rest of this stuff. It was last week. It'd be nice if I did have like a I don't know, if a trailer, something like that I could kind of move around with me so I didn't have to make so many trips to and from an area with what I want to carry. It would be great if I could just load up, you know, everything all at once in an area. But I don't have a trailer, and I'm not gonna go get one. Instead, it'll just be a little bit less efficient and a little bit more, a little bit slower. There we go. Big deal. Because of the wonderful thing. Disappointed, we passed over. What kind of look around? See I'm naked, but I'm oblivious. Don't see. But I flew, you're the obvious. Just to say here I am expecting just a little bit too much from the wounded, but
what I see through it all. Cause I've through the obvious to what I've got behind eyes of mine. Oh, well, apparently nothing, apparently nothing at all. You don't say me. Truly thought that you you're far beyond the visible sign of your awakening. I'm failing miserably to rescue me back. Thought I could make it right if I touch you one more time to help me face the nightmare, but you're far too poison for me. Such a fool to think that I could wake you from your slumber, that I could magically sleep. Far beyond the visible sign of your awakening, I'm failing miserably to find a way to comfort you. Ahoo! Ahoo!
to and through the hollow conscience. One moment, catered to the hollow, screaming. Dominoes of indiscretions down, falling all around in cycles, in circles, constantly consuming. Cause it's time to bring a fire down. Well, I don't want this indiscretion long enough to edify. Permanently fill this hollow. Temporarily little place for me to show you how you safe Okay. See a naked body. took all my money. Get a new car. Drinking in some crosstown bar. Sometimes I feel. Sometimes I feel like I've been tied to a wooden pole. You got to run to keep rolling high, and I'm down to keep rolling right. And I've got one more silver dollar, but I'm not gonna let 'em catch me, no, not gonna let 'em catch the midnight rider. Ba-dum-bam-ba-dum. Clothes I'm wearing, and the road goes on forever. And I've got one more silver dollar, but I'm not gonna let 'em catch me, no. Okay, well, I got my camera stuck. Ba-da-dum-bam-ba-dum. All right, got to move to a different part of the property, so I cut the stream for now. Might move my stuff, might not. Love you, Mom. Bye.